tap here, you can actually go ahead and turn on and off home screen pages. So you can see I just turned off 2 pages, and so now my iPhone is just going to show as if I have 1 page. So What's up everyone, this is All I Talk Is Tech, and in this video I have a huge video for you guys. So I'm going to be showing you guys 50 home screen changes in iOS 14, and what's great is you don't even have to watch the full video. I'm going to leave timestamps down below in the description, so you can skip to the ones that you're interested in. I'm going to have them labeled, so that way you can find something you're interested in, so that way you don't have to look over every feature and change. So look in the description to find out more info, so you can skip to the parts that you want. But let's get started with this video, because there's a lot to talk about that literally no other YouTuber has talked about, which is why I'm so excited to make this video. Let's go. So the first thing I want to talk about that I haven't seen anyone mention before is the 3 dots below. Most people think that when you tap these little 3 dots, right, all it does is change your app page that you're on. But in iOS 14, you can actually hold down and scroll really fast with them. It's so cool. Obviously, this wouldn't be a home screen video without mentioning the app library. So you can see here is your app library, and Apple has changed the look of the folders. So you can see that folders now has a new look compared to what a typical iPhone folder looks like. So you can see this is a normal folder, and then this is the app library folder. I also want to mention a new feature would be what I would consider dynamic folders. So on a normal iPhone, iPhone folders are made by you, whereas with this new iPhone update, these would be considered dynamic folders, meaning like it's made on its own based off previous actions you've done. So these are suggested apps for me to open. These are apps based on creativity, social, entertainment. So you can see iOS 14 has its own, I guess, personality that it thinks I've developed, and it recommends apps based on how I use my phone. So that's pretty cool, and along with the category I've used. Now, something that's new about the home screen in iOS 14 is that there's actually its own setting page inside of settings. So you can see there's this new home screen page that is only accessible in iOS 14. This is a new change that we've never actually seen before. Another cool change is you can hide apps on the home screen. So if you want to hold down an application to get rid of it, just hold it down and you'll see they'll begin to shake. And you can just tap on the little minus button, and you can see you can just tap on add to library or delete. And that is also a new change, because you can see they've added a new option. You could do add to library or delete. So when you add to library, it's removed from your home screen and added in here. So it's very clear that iOS 14 lets users add widgets on the home screen. But something that's new is iOS 14 also lets you stack widgets. And the way you would go about that is you can just hold down on any widget, and you can do edit home screen. And on top of that, you can also edit a specific stack. So you can see that this is a stack. You could see that I have my Siri suggestions up here, and you can also see it has Smart Rotate based off what I would use my phone apps for at what time. So you can basically see, very cool, you can now have stacked widgets. Now, something I also want to mention is this hasn't changed yet, but this is going to be a new change. It's developers are probably going to have the ability to make their own widgets editable from their home screen. So that means you can add a widget from your favorite app. So mine, I like to look at cryptocurrency prices and my subscriber count occasionally. By the way, thank you guys for that. That's pretty cool. I very, very much appreciate you guys. Another cool trick is most people hold down on an app when they want to start entering wiggle mode, right? Well, in iOS 14, you can now just hold anywhere on the home screen to enter wiggle mode. I think that's pretty cool, and you don't really have to deal with holding down on a specific app. You can see it takes much longer to try to hold down on this app and try not to, like, you see how long it takes to enter wiggle mode, whereas now you can just hold down on the home screen and you enter wiggle mode and you can edit your whole home screen, which is pretty cool. Now, another thing I want to mention is typically if you were to just hold on an app, you can edit those app settings. But if you hold down on a widget, you can get individual widget settings. So you can see you can edit your stack. On top of that, if you hold down on a widget, you can go ahead and you can edit the shortcuts within the widget. So that's really cool. Typically, you would have to probably go inside an application to view what is changed on the widget if you want. So there's all sorts of widget settings that now come with iOS 14. Taking a look at this right here, this looks like I just placed apps like normal, but this is what is basically a dynamic home screen setup. So these apps I did not place here. These are apps that Apple thinks that I would most likely click within how I use my iPhone. And that's because this is actually a widget, and these are Siri suggested apps that Siri thinks I would be using at a certain point in time. So that is a new really cool widget that Apple has added. I really like that because these apps are constantly changing, so that way it's always updated to how I use my phone. So that's a very cool feature in iOS 14. And yes, of course, it is a little bit buggy. Now, speaking about Siri, there's this really cool mini version of this inside the app library, and you can see that that's actually this little icon right here. So these are just some more Siri suggestions that it thinks I might use. But I am not really going to use these apps very often, so it's not really suggesting the most accurate things. But it's still got some room to learn. Now, going back to this little Siri suggestion thing, what's really cool is if you hold down on an app, you can choose for Siri to not suggest that specific app. So maybe there's an app you use that you just don't want on your home screen for whatever reason. You can choose for Siri not to suggest that specific app. So that's actually really cool. I like that. And it will replace it with another app it would suggest. Another cool trick is obviously when you hold down on these dots, you can scroll. But check this out. If you hold down on the home screen and you tap here, you can actually go ahead and turn on and off home screen pages. So you can see I just turned off 2 pages. And so now my iPhone is just going to show as if I have 1 page. So you can actually hide applications technically. And you just go ahead and you can re-enable those pages. Now I wish you could just drag and move them around, but still definitely a very cool feature to have in iOS 14. Something else that's really cool with iOS 14 is you can actually not only obviously add widgets, I'm sure we've all seen this before, but you can search widgets, and this will be really helpful if you have a lot of apps on your iPhone that have different widgets. You can go ahead and search whichever ones that you would like. So obviously I would just search shortcuts if I want to see all the shortcut widgets that I have available. And this is a pretty cool feature and change to iOS 14. And speaking of widgets in iOS 14, something that makes the widgets so much more powerful in this update is that they are dynamic. So just like I mentioned how the Siri suggestion, these widgets update to, I guess, what my needs are based off of, the same way these widgets change. So Apple has added a whole bunch of new widgets that are constantly being updated with live information. You can see they update with new information. So if you were to have the Photos widget, it would be having like a slideshow on your iPhone home screen, which is really cool. So these are dynamic widgets, whereas before, widgets were more limited and they could really only just display basic info. Now what I love is the ability to open up apps without being on the home screen. And let me show you how you can do this. So this is actually a feature called back tap, but what I really like about it is you won't see many people talking about this because this is a back tap feature that not very many people are taking advantage of. So you want to go to your accessibilities, tap on touch, scroll down, tap on back tap, and you will see you'll have the option to double tap or triple tap. You could just choose either one. Now, what I like about this is you can scroll down and choose a Siri shortcut, and that is how you're going to actually be able to open up the app of your choosing. So, for example, if I want to open up Google Assistant, anytime I'm on the home screen, I just double tap the back of my iPhone, and Google Assistant will open up, theoretically, if it can see. Exactly. So you can see you can now open up apps without even having to interact with the home screen. And so I think that's a whole new level of interacting with the iPhone. So I think that's super duper cool. Another new feature in iOS 14 is the fact that widgets are a different shape. So this is obviously really cool because this also adds to the next feature, and that is a new grid layout. And that's because you can now have apps placed like so, and you can have really cool formations, and it doesn't follow the iPhone's typical grid pattern of having to be a certain row and column formation. So this is definitely a welcome change to iOS 14. Another big change with iOS 14 that I haven't seen anyone really mention is there are now 3 new ways to enter Spotlight Search on the iPhone. And this is really cool because I use Spotlight Search a ton. So the first way is you can obviously use the widget panel, right? And you can search apps just like normal Spotlight Search, but here's the one that's really cool. Obviously, you've got your second option, but here's the third option that I really enjoy. This is the app library. This is, whenever you use this version of Spotlight Search, it only searches specific apps, which is really cool. Whereas typically, if you were to use the normal Spotlight Search, you would get suggestions. For example, it's asking me to DM Apple Tech Video. So that's the normal Spotlight Search, whereas the app library is just literally the library of applications you have. And on top of that, another new change is this alphabetical slider. This makes searching for applications pretty easy, so I really enjoy this, and I think you guys will too. Now, another cool change is when you do go to Spotlight Search, typically if you search an app, it shows up, but now it's highlighted because there could be other apps with a similar spelling, and so Apple will highlight the app that it is actually recommending to you. So if I were to look up YouTube, for example, I actually use YouTube Music more than the YouTube app, so it's going to recommend YouTube Music to me instead. So I think that's super cool. Another cool way to customize your iOS 14 home screen is you may notice I've got cluttered notifications everywhere. Look at that. 40,000 emails. Well, obviously, you can take this off of the home screen by obviously just removing it from the home screen, right? But if you go to your app page, it actually looks very nice and clean because there are no app notifications being spammed in your app library. And what's really cool is Apple allows you to actually just go into your settings on your iPhone and you can actually just disable the ability to see notifications. And you do that just by going to home screen. You could see it should say notification badges in app library. If you go ahead and enable that, you will see all these nasty notifications. But if you disable that, it looks nice and clean. So definitely a welcome change to iOS 14. Now, I mentioned earlier that you can hide applications just by simply removing them. Now, you can actually add applications to your home screen just by simply holding down on them. So you just hold down on them and then you just add them to your home screen like you would any other app. Pretty cool. Now, something that's really cool that I like is you can actually not only launch apps by not even interacting with the home screen, but you can launch apps from the lock screen. So let me just get rid of this. You can actually just view your Siri suggestions in the widget panel, which I actually really prefer, because by the time you've done this, Face ID has already worked, and you can just go ahead and open up the app of your choosing. So definitely a very efficient way to interact with your iPhone apps instead of having to go through the home screen. Now, this next thing is not really a feature, it's actually a bug. I don't have the best example, but take a look at this. The shortcuts font and color is actually different from the color of these apps on the screen right here. So there's a bit of an inconsistency between the folder fonts and the transparency, which is kind of annoying. That could be a bug. It's definitely a feature I don't like, so hopefully that is fixed. Now, something really cool that no one has shown you before is if you have a bunch of pages of apps and you want to access the app library, you're going to be scrolling forever. Look at that, how long that takes. So I'm going to show you a cool shortcut. So the shortcut is you hold down on this, swipe over really fast, and bam, app library. Takes half the amount of time. Pretty cool. Another new change that isn't really noticeable within the screen is there are new haptic feedback ways that you can interact with your iPhone. And so every time you hold down on the home screen, your phone vibrates. Every time you try to tap on these dots, your phone vibrates. So there's just a lot of new interaction methods with your iPhone and haptic touch. Pretty cool. You hold down on an app, and that's mainly the most known haptic touch feature that appears on the home screen, but Apple has added a lot of subtle touches when interacting with the home screen to make it feel, I guess, like a better experience. Now, what's a really cool feature is if you want to hide an app, like for real, you want to hide an app, you can actually make it so it doesn't even come up in Spotlight search. And all you got to do is go to your settings, go to Siri and search, scroll down and find the application you want to hide. So you can choose to show in Siri Suggested. If you turn that off, then it won't even show up in this.
I didn't quite catch
Shut
that.
up, Siri.
Could you please repeat it?
No. I don't know which iPhone this is. It's this one. There we go. It's annoying having 20 different iPhones all activating Siri. But basically you can see that says show app suggestion. You turn that off and basically none of your apps that you have turned off will even show up. And what's really cool about this is if you go to look up whichever app this was, books, it won't even come up in the search. So that is how you actually hide apps on the iPhone. Pretty cool. Cool thing I want to show you is most people will have no idea how to get duplicate of the same widget to be able to stack like so. And the reason this is because I use a trick with Siri shortcuts. Most people will only know how to do just this. I'm going to be showing you guys how you can do 2 different sets of Siri shortcuts. So, the way you can get duplicate Siri shortcuts is, I'll mention it in a bit, but I just want to mention that I will be going over some really cool Siri shortcuts later on in this video that is so significant. This is like 90% of the video is with Siri shortcuts. This is so cool. So, the way you can edit this so you can get 2 types of Siri shortcut libraries is you want to open up your Siri shortcuts app, right? So you just go to shortcuts on your iPhone, bam, open it up. Now, if you tap on the back button, you can go ahead and you can see there's a folder section. You just want to tap on a folder and you can label it whatever you want. I'm going to label it 3.0 because that's my 3rd folder. Now, you're going to want to take apps or Siri shortcuts, for example. Select whichever shortcuts you want. So I want this one, this one, this one, and this one. And we are going to move them to folder number 3. So now that that's been moved to folder number 3, check this out. You go to add a widget like normal. Scroll down and search for shortcuts. And you will see you'll have the option to add this to the screen. Okay, so it lets you add it in there, but check this out, right? Why would you want to have duplicate? And most people are only going to know how to just get duplicate. This is how you do the really cool trick to get a big variety of shortcuts. Go ahead and tap on Edit Shortcuts, tap on Folder, and then you choose the specific folder that you want to have shown. Now you can see I have a good variety library of shortcuts that are able to be chose from on the home screen. So that's a cool little trick to optimize your shortcut usage. Now the rest of this video is going to consist of back tap features, and this is really cool. So if you're new to back tap, check this out. So you're going to want to go to your settings, you're going to want to go to your accessibilities, touch, scroll down until you see back tap, and then you will see you'll have the option to double tap and triple tap. So let's get started. The first thing is if you have it set to do double tap to scroll down and triple tap to scroll up, you will notice that if you double tap to scroll down, nothing will happen. But if you double tap to scroll down, it'll actually scroll within your widget panel. So that's really cool. That's a new change. And on top of that, most people, they will see this triple tap and they can have it access Spotlight search. But I'm going to show you something that you get 2 birds with 1 stone out of this. So if you do, for whatever reason, want to have Spotlight search enabled when you triple tap, right? You can see Spotlight search is enabled, but that's it. You're only limited to Spotlight search. This trick is going to change how you use your iPhone. Check this out. If you have it set to scroll up instead, right, not only can you go inside of an app and you can scroll up or down, let me just show you a good example. You go to triple tap, you can scroll up, double tap, you can scroll down, but also if you triple tap on the back of your phone, it also activates Spotlight search. So just by setting the triple tap as scroll up, you also get the ability to activate Spotlight search, which is a pretty cool feature to have. Now you can obviously double tap to go to your home screen, which is a definitely cool change in iOS 14 just by tapping. If you do app switcher, you can double tap and you can access your app switcher. Pretty cool. Now in iOS 14, when you get a phone call, this is the way it appears and it looks very nice on the home screen. So you can see that if you swipe down, it enters the way you would normally see a call, but you can also swipe up and the phone will still technically ring from the other end, or you could accept or decline the call. So that's definitely a cool change. There's also a new shortcut animation. So typically when you open up a Siri shortcut, you get like this weird animation. Well, if you want to access apps on your iPhone without even having to tap on an app, you can go ahead and just open it up through a shortcut. And you can see there's no annoying animation, which is something that's super duper cool. Anyways, guys, that is 50 iOS 14 home screen changes. Hopefully you guys do enjoy. There are so many more videos that I'm going to be making on iOS 14. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, peace.